All right, everybody. Welcome to another week. I just want to let you know what all the assignments are this week. Now, you'll notice that there are two Excel lecture videos. Those are actually videos for, well, we have several different versions of the book over the years, and these two videos are me walking you through how to do that slightly older version. Uh, Now, the major difference between the previous version and this version is the numbers and stuff are different. As far as like the formulas and various other things, most of them are actually pretty close, pretty similar. You're doing the exact same thing, numbers and stuff are just different. So you don't have to go in and follow the video step by step, unless you have some problems. If you want to watch that, it certainly will help you get through the chapter work. Now the chapter work, of course, starts in the book. Chapter 2, page 4, goes all the way to chapter 2, page 49. The big difference between this chapter and the previous chapters is formulas. Let's just say Excel. Try to get everything here on the screen for us. Now, in chapter 1, most of what you typed in was essentially just, well, here's some numbers. I'm going to do a sum, maybe a simple formula. That's roughly the gist of it. To be perfectly honest, you could probably look at the end result picture and get through a good portion of what they're asking without even looking at the directions, because most of it's fairly obvious. This is the sum. This right here are the numbers you type in. You'd have to check for the formatting and stuff, of course, but most of it could be done really without glancing too hard at the directions. In chapter 2, however, if you don't look at the directions, you're just going to end up getting a 0 for every assignment. Big reason for that is, if you remember if you've done the SAM assignments at this point that were posted last week, I believe, you'll see there were actually a fair number of formulas in those. Those are actually kind of, I guess you can say, prequels to what you have to do this chapter. You have to set up formulas this chapter. So, for example, 2, 3, 4, I'll just put in a couple of numbers here. There we go. And we'll zoom in so everybody can see it nice and neat here. So, in chapter 2, you'll probably put in a column, maybe 2 or 3, and then everything else is going to be a formula. If you just look at that end result picture, it won't tell you what that formula is. I always have 1 or 2 people who just look at the picture, type in all the numbers, and try to submit it. Well, that's a 0. You didn't follow directions, you just typed in a bunch of numbers. At that point, you've wasted a colossal amount of time, both yours and mine. And if you're not going to follow directions, you're not going to get any points. This is the one chapter here where follow the directions, and you will spend significantly less time doing the work. It actually takes more time to type in each number individually than it does to actually do it correct. You put in a formula, for example, this times this, and I press enter. And I can just use this bottom right-hand corner to copy down. When I grade, what I'm going to look at is these formulas. Whenever you use this copy, it copies the formulas down, like this. Now, if you see it goes down like this, notice how it changes. A1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what the autofill does. Now, when it changes like this automatically, it's called a relative cell reference because it changes relative to its position. Now, if I were to do it again, boop, and this is where some people tend to have some issues. Let's say I go to my B1 and I add some dollar signs to it. If I pull this down, watch what happens. My A1, A2, 3, 4, 5, but look at the B1. It stays locked in position. This is what's called an absolute cell reference, and if you've done the SAM assignments previous, there was one in each of those that had this, and they asked you not to delete it. You won't really see this maybe in the SAM assignment, but not in the book assignments. But an absolute cell reference is used if you have like a number over here, 1, number, for example, that you don't want to move. Maybe I'm using a percentage or something, and I want to copy it down and use that same percentage. But I don't want to have to write in the percentage. Maybe I want to change it, and then it'll change it for all these. That's when you would use this. Now, this is also what I'm going to look at when I basically grade your work. Let's move this over here. Other things you'll see. Let's see, total, max, min, we'll go with average, are these. The auto sum up here has your sum, but it also has your average, max, min. Now, usually the sheets are laid out like this. So, you might have to get an auto sum. You may not get it for every number, but make sure it is for whatever range they ask for, in this case 1 through 5. And I'll pull this across. Boop, I fill those out. Now I want the max. And if you notice the location of the max, it's right under there. I'll click max. Now, Excel is very smart. It highlights things automatically, and a lot of times it does it in a way that you want it to do it. In this case, no. I want it to be 1 to 5, but you see it says 1 to 6. So the most common mistake in Chapter 2 is for someone to do that, and then they just press Enter, and then they go over here, and they hit Min, and they press Enter, and then they go over here, Average, and they press Enter. Now, if I take a look at the formulas, you see this is 5, 6, 7, 8. I want them all to be 5. Now I can go in here and edit, or I can just click it correctly the first time. Let's click. You can click and re-highlight. That's usually what I do. But as long as it has the right answer, it doesn't matter how you fix it. Average. I could come right here and just change that to 5 instead of clicking if you prefer. But that's what I should see. Now, the other place people get confused is, I mentioned this before, but how you highlight things. If I click on this line, I can move this one cell wherever I want. When you highlight stuff, remember you're going to highlight it like this, right? A lot of people will use this right-hand corner and pull it down, and what that ends up doing is copying formulas. When you want to highlight something, you just click and go. Click and drag. So I will highlight all 3 of these, and I can use that bottom right-hand corner. That's what I use to copy, not to highlight. So in this case, a lot of people will grab that and try to go down and across, and it doesn't work. A lot of people will pretty much forget how to highlight things. But in the center, highlight, pull across, and now we've got formulas for pretty much everything. And this is what pretty much every assignment you do should look similar to this. And you can press Control, and it's the accent tilde mark to open up formulas and close it. That's essentially what I'm going to do. When I grade it, I'm going to look at this, and if the formulas are right, I'll close it and give you points. If they're not, well, then you won't get the points. Now, the chapter work is the first part you have to do. Of course, we'll back up a little bit. I think I got 2 SAM assignments as well, the 2 trainings, and then 1 apply your knowledge. There is a file for that. If it opens up, there it goes. Just click the little arrow and you can download that. There's only a couple directions, but most of the directions do ask for formulas. Now, if you haven't finished some of the Excel stuff for the previous week, finish it. You can still turn it in. You can still submit it and get grades for it. Don't skip those, especially the chapter works. The chapter works are longer. Yes, they take significantly more time, but they're also worth more points. And if you do those, every single assignment in the chapter is significantly easier. Almost everyone, without exception, who skips the chapter work because it's too long, 1, you lose 15 points for that. 2, they almost always lose points for on all the other assignments because they don't know how to do things that they're supposed to know. So, make sure you do them in order, and things tend to be a little bit easier. That is essentially your work for the week. Now we finished Chapter 1 officially, and we're moving on to Chapter 2. But you can still turn in Chapter 1, at least for another, I think, 2 weeks, and then we'll probably finish Chapter 2, have our test, and move on to the next section. So, If you have any issues or questions, just let me know. Otherwise, that is your week's work.